Kaddish. Have you heard? Wizards of the Coast has asked the question, which Magic the Gathering content creators have most negatively impacted your views on Spider-Man? We're going to get thoughts from AI, and we are going to get thoughts from the community, and we're going to get thoughts from Reddit, and we're going to get thoughts from Draftism as well. Draftism, by the way, I had to go to a different browser because, oh my gosh, there were way too many ads. But your article is pretty good. So this is Draftism. WotC tries to blame influencers for Spider-Man failure. I mean, this is sick. This is like a new low for Wizards of the Coast. I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe it was my fault. Spider-Man sucked. After all, it wasn't immediately apparent, but a very targeted question on Wizards of the Coast's latest survey seems to suggest Magic influencers are responsible, at least in some part, for the poor performance of Marvel's Spider-Man. No. No. And no. Forget all that riffraff about repurposing a small set into something salvageable, filling it with a bunch of on-the-nose references to New York City, selling it at an inflated price point, and making a sideshow mockery of the set for digital platforms. Seriously, this was like the biggest disaster Wizards of the Coast has dropped since. I mean, I want to compare it to Dragon's Maze, but just social media and everything else and influencers and the whole world is completely different since Dragon's Maze. Dragon's Maze as a whole just sucked. I hope it's not as bad as Dragon's Maze card-wise performance. Nope, couldn't be any of that. The set almost certainly flopped because your favorite MTG personality told you not to like it. That's what they're saying. That's Wizards of the Coast mindset right now. Ridiculous, dude. So here's the question that's got everyone in a tizzy. Coming from Wizards of the Coast's latest round of questioning about its latest sets and the company as a whole. Really quick, what are your thoughts? Did any influencer negatively impact your thoughts and opinions on Spider-Man? If so, I'd love to hear about it. Or was it something else? And I would love to hear about that as well. First off, putting the finger pointing aside for just a moment, this is Wizards of the Coast blatantly saying that Marvel's Spider-Man didn't do well. I mean, yeah, they really are. And I think we all kind of like were leaning towards that. Once Seth opened up, I don't know, was it like 5 boxes, 5 collector boxes of Spider-Man, and not a single box that he opened had return value from what he paid. I knew there was a problem right then and there. And the prices that he was suggesting were based on relatively adjusted prices from when, or like for where he saw them being projected, you know, a couple weeks down the road or whatnot, you know, not the inflated prices, right? The question specifically asks about negative commentary when it could have instead left negative out and not told on itself, for real. That's not really a surprise since it's sort of well known at this point that Spider-Man wasn't the next coming of Final Fantasy. I tried telling people this. I'm like, Spider-Man and Final Fantasy are 2 completely separate entities. And man, Final Fantasy blew it out the water. And there were quite a few people defending Spider-Man in the comments. And I almost want to believe that at this point, those were Wizards of the Coast employees. You know they troll. You know they have troll accounts, right? And maybe not just for trolling purposes, but just to like try to boost the company as a whole. Like maybe not have it look so bad in the public's perception when a new set drops and kerplunks, you know, like they have these accounts go around and they're just like, oh my God, Spider-Man's going to be super, you know, just to try to like sway like the public opinion. And I mean, I honestly believe that does go on. I know it goes on. It goes on everywhere with everything. But I wonder how many accounts really exist. Anyway, but then there's the implications of what this question is really asking. Sure, they want to know if negative word of mouth caused people to shy away from the set. But why do they want to know that? It sounds like they just want a narrative they can fall back on for why the set flopped, and they're aware that MTG podcasters and YouTubers have been generally down on the set. For example, well-established limited podcasts, limited resources, basically put their foot down for the first time in 823 episodes and said they weren't interested in talking about Spider-Man through the Omnipaths. I mean, that kind of speaks volume. That aside, let's go. This is kind of interesting. So I typed into, like the Google search, right? Looking for AI. Wizards of the Coast wants to know if specific Magic the Gathering content influencers are responsible for poor reception of the Spider-Man set. This question is a point of contention, as many believe the set's issues, such as its confusing design and lack of value, I was saying that since day one, are the result of Wizards of the Coast's own development decisions, like the set's expansion and numerous pivots during production. This gets interesting because I'm going to go over the influencers that AI has suggested were the most damning, according to AI, that negatively impacted the sales of Spider-Man. But I don't really believe it. But it's AI. Anyway, a specific question. Yeah. This set has led to community speculation that Wizards of the Coast is attempting to shift blame from its own choices to influencers. Critics suggest this is either to reallocate future marketing money away from creators who generate negative buzz, or to try and bias them. Other potential reasons for the set's poor reception: developmental issues, like AI's like, all right, let's break down like what's really going on here. The set was expanded from a planned small product to a full standard legal set, leading to design changes, a lack of synergy, and confusion for players. Confusing design. The sheer number of spider cards and variations of the same character were seen as overwhelming and diluted the set's identity. I was saying that as well. I'm like, there's too many. What is going on here? And I remember like people barking in the comments, and it's okay, like, to have an opinion. I love opinions, arguments are healthy, as long as they don't take personal, like routes and all that. But having a good like argument and like let me hear your real thoughts, there's nothing wrong with that. You're not wrong with an opinion, It's your opinion. You're entitled to it, and it builds for great comments. I did notice quite a few comments though, and I was like, what are they saying? This is so weird, so misleading. No, how are you defending this? But like, I really didn't comment back. I let people like kind of bite back in the comments, like the fan base on Bad Boy MTG. By the way, subscribe if you enjoy the videos. And it took an interesting turn because in the long run, the masses were onto something. All of us content creators, we weren't crapping on Wizards of the Coast Spider-Man. We were crapping on the development, the push, the let's hold back on this set from down the road and just shove it right up front forward, push Lorwyn back, the lack of value, the lack of powerful, impactful cards, which you already know they're going to do something about this down the road. They're probably already making changes to future sets, so like there's synergy that's going to involve, so it makes Spider-Man look good. It's the way the cookie crumbles. It's how things happen. It's what occurs when a set sucks, right? In this day and age. Can't speak for homelands anyway. Lack of value. The set was widely perceived as having a low value, with many uncommons worth very little. Seriously, upon release, all the uncommons were under $1, and I'm like, huh? Like, that's so awful, which impacts its appeal for collectors and players. Missed opportunities. Some argue that key characters were left out in favor of filling out the set with more Spider-Man variations, which I thought was ridiculous. What was there, over 40 different Spider-Man variants? Just like, come on, guys, what's going on? What this means, Wizards of the Coast survey question is generating controversy because it seems to ignore the internal factors that likely contributed to the set's issues. Even AI is recognizing, like, maybe your product sucks, right? Maybe your product just sucks. While influencers may have played a role, no, they didn't. If any, okay, possibly, but let's call a spade a spade. The set sucks. The primary drivers of the Spider-Man set's problems appear to be in the result of Wizards of the Coast's own development process and decisions. We're going to dive deeper. This is the deep dive, okay? I do got to find this one article, though, because it mentioned all the influencers. Give me 1 second. So I punched into Google AI. Wizards of the Coast wants to know what influencers negatively impacted your thoughts on Spider-Man. Here's what I discovered. Based on player feedback to a recent survey, Wizards of the Coast wants yada, 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 yada. However, citing influencers for the set's failure is seen as a deflection by the community, which believes the problems lie with Wizards of the Coast's own handling of the product. Below are the most prominent influence or complaints against the Spider-Man MTG set. Starting off with number 1, the top dog. I mean, it makes sense, you know, because he gets the most views. Brian from Tolarian Community College. Professor at Tolarian Community College, a highly influential MTG content creator, expressed his significant disappointment with the set. There's nothing wrong with stating your opinion. If something... If you go to the market and you buy an apple and the apple tastes like crap, you know, is it the apple's fault? Is it the person selling the apple? Or is it the person criticizing the apple for tasting like crap? I mean, think about that, you know? The feelings of wrongness. TCC felt the Spider-Man set was particularly off compared to other successful Universes Beyond sets like the Lord of the Rings and Final Fantasy. Seriously, this set was just shit. Lack of passion from designers. He noted that unlike the other UB collaborations, there seemed to be a lack of passion and personal connection from the designers in translating the Spider-Man intellectual property IP into MTG, which resulted in a less compelling product. No strong emotional reaction. TCC stated that he found something particularly lacking in the set, expressing a sense of numbness rather than strong feelings. This indicates a general lack of excitement for the release. For sure. Here's number 2. Ben Bateman, MTG. Influencer Ben Bateman, MTG, reflected the concerns of his audience regarding the behavior of larger creators' betrayal of trust. He noted that some players feel betrayed by bigger name creators who seem to consistently support Wizards of the Coast products. I noticed mostly, I mean, it's not even like bigger name creators. It's more like the ones that Wizards of the Coast is pushing, you know? Like they have this this creator program, you know, like where if you get in early, that, you know, you get some free product and all that. It's almost like, I bet there's something you got to sign. I mean, I don't know. I'm just talking out my ass, but maybe there's something you have to agree to in the terms and conditions where it's like you will not talk poorly about this product. But also I noticed a lot of people, a lot of influencers that get the product early, they're not well known in the Magic the Gathering community. They are more so well known elsewhere. It's almost like Wizards are just trying to branch out, you know, as far as they could possibly reach and snag any potential fan of a theme to come their way and start purchasing their packs, their products, you know, and getting into Magic the Gathering. I mean, that's my thoughts. What are yours? I mean, am I hitting the nail on the head, or am I far away? Pressure to remain positive. This implies an environment where influencers may feel pressured to be overly positive, which can lead to anger from a player base that wants honest criticism. Well, that's what you get, Wizards, when, you know, you constantly I can't think of the name of it, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? These there's like it's a creator program, you know, and you have to sign up in advance, and Wizards has to approve you. And again, I'm just reiterating what I just said. They push you, they push out or mail you like some boxes or some packs or whatever. Then you open them. I have always given my honest thoughts on a product, you know, and sometimes people called me a shill, but then like, you know, months down the road, you know, people are like, well, actually this is pretty good. It's just my own honest thoughts. Do I get things wrong? Absolutely. Do other content creators get things wrong? Absolutely. Do we get things right? Yes, absolutely. But I think Wizards needs to leave the ivory tower, right? The smoke and mirrors, like you got to stop, you know, like influencers are one thing, but if you're selling a pushed or fake agenda and you're shoving it down these content creators' throats and being like, hey, we hooked you up with freebies. Now you got to talk positively about it. You're not allowed to give your own honest opinion. I mean, what are you? What, like at that point to these creators, what are you doing? You know, maybe it's best I stay out of this entire world of early product release and opening, you know, and I just continue giving my own 2 cents, you know, on my thoughts of a recent Magic the Gathering set. Many small content creators and community figures also voiced their specific critiques of the set, which were amplified across platforms like Reddit and Blue Sky. I haven't heard Blue Sky in a while. AI art controversy. I mean, this has been something going on for a while. People weren't too happy with AI, you know, hitting Magic the Gathering cards. It's been going on for years. Some pointed out suspicious or low-quality artwork, such as in the case of the Spider UK card, which led to accusations that AI art may have been used. No, I think, maybe, but I think the set just sucks. I think the set just sucks. Feeling of being rushed. Other critics highlighted the set's origins as a small-scale product that was quickly expanded. This rush job was seen as compromising card design and One moment, I'm sorry. This rush job was seen as compromising card design and flavor. Low power level. I've been saying this since day one, Billy. Ain't been saying it, Miguel. Low power level. Many players believed the cards were low powered and offered little impact on competitive formats, leading to a decline in interest from established players. I mean, really, like that's pretty much where we're at, guys. So the community consensus is that influencers' criticisms were a reaction to Wizards of the Coast failures. Sometimes AI is good, you know? I mean, who knows? I mean, you know, will we see Terminator 2, you know, in like 50 years? Probably, if we don't get it under control. But high prices, this is what AI concluded. High prices are to blame. Poor card design. The digital-only debacle. Seriously, like, what the hell were you thinking with that? Tone Deaf survey. The survey asking about negative influence commentary was widely interpreted as Wizards of the Coast attempting to shift the blame to others rather than accepting responsibility for the set's poor execution. I think they need to fire a bunch of people at Wizards of the Coast, like, that are in charge of shit, because all they're doing is trying to, like, throw up smoke and mirrors, you know, and mask problems rather than address issues and problems. Rather than fix things, they're attempting to put a Band-Aid and shift blame elsewhere, you know, deflecting. They need to take a drastic change in their approach. And I think it all begins with firing some people who even created this survey. Like, it's just stupid. It's not content creators to blame whatsoever. It's everything that we read here and more. It's the lack of passion. It's the interest of the shareholders over the interest of the players and fans. It's a lot of things, but I'd like to hear from you. What are your honest thoughts on this? Where did Spider-Man go wrong? And were there actual content creators to blame for this? Or is Wizards of the Coast just putting some stuff up their pipe, chiefing it hard, and taking a big toke? Let me hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. Joey Moss, Bad Boy Gaming, Skadoosh.